On reaching him, the boat came out of the water. He got into it very easily. He found that the boat was made of sandalwood, fragrant sandalwood. He went ashore with it. A strong gust of wind took the boat into the water. Both of them laughed uncontrollably. The boat was now traveling towards the other side of the lake. He caught hold of a lotus flower floating in the water. He turned to the other side and took a bowl of lake water with a small colored fish in his hand and placed it in front of him. He laughed when he saw the fish. He caught it and threw it in the water. Every passing goose was touched by his hand. Then suddenly he saw a train of lotus flowers moving on the water of the lake. They were dancing on the water of the lake. Come and go, then pass. As if they were alive like a swan. On the blue water of the lake, those white lotuses with their green, beautiful flowers created vibrations in the water. She was unconscious or involuntary. There was no understanding either. Understanding was not necessary. Among the countless beautiful flowers dancing on the blue water of the lake, he suddenly saw an image in the water, sitting in the boat. He turned around in shock and then opened it without a structure. The boat came to the other side. And it was the street. **K Club suit from the telescope. He looked at the banquet hall once again. The security people were ready at their positions in the hall. The caretaker staff were also at their positions. The inner door of the banquet hall is the height of Adam Kudki. He was in an apartment on the third floor of a building opposite to the window. Opposite the window, he used the telescope of a new sniper rifle. From the sight, a small hole in the screen of the child led into the banquet hall. The inner door of the hall was opened, and the waiting line had taken its position in the corridor. It was 9:02 on his clock. The guests were to enter the corridor at 15 minutes past 9. And about 1 hour and 15 minutes after passing through, he was about to leave. From the time the guest arrives at the hotel to the time of his departure, all communications are blocked in the area for approximately 1 hour. It was because of the high level of security. Cell phones and related voices were not working for about an hour. But he was a professional hitman. He had worked successfully in high alerts like this before. The reason he was hired was because of his success rate, which was about 9%. They only kill 2 people. I was unsuccessful. And it was because of bad luck near him. First time his rifle would move at the last second from the stand it was on. That's it. He had been living in this apartment for the past 2 months. About a month ago, when the hotel was reserved for a banquet. For this event, this hotel etc. So were those who chose the banquet. The decision to terminate the guest was made 4 months ago, when the venue and the killer were chosen after an extremely expert review. Names of victims and possible killers, the sharks, were listed. Then the effects of the incident at each place and date were discussed. The immediate effects and the strategy to deal with it were discussed. To avoid trouble, plans were drawn up. Possible backlash and losses in the event of a successful Catalan attack were considered. And after each meeting, the place and date of work were changed. But the killer was the same. Because the topic was the best. For security reasons, 3 hotels were listed in the city for the ceremony on this date, but the hirer knew that the ceremony would take place 2 months ago. She was asked to be friends with the 67-year-old girl who lived in the apartment. It was done by Joe's car dealer. She got an excuse to buy a car from her boyfriend and took her to a motel after offering her a loan. This year, the girl's account of her time spent with the girl was received in the form of mail the next day. Her boyfriend was drunk. Can be her boyfriend's two-to-wheel could not reduce his anger and hurt. For his girlfriend, it was even more painful. It was more unbearable. Because they were going to get married after 3 weeks. I took my boyfriend's stuff. He did not fly out of the door of the house. He flew out of the window of the apartment. He gathered the things scattered on the road and fought for himself and his girlfriend for a year, even though he had no son. I thought that in a few weeks, his anger will be cold. They will get back together. Someone had ended their relationship. They were worried about that too. The boy's computer has to reach the point of no return. What happened? And this girl, a highly objectionable photo of the friend, along with her email address, was uploaded to various websites as the final nail in the coffin. Sent from Yale. The message read, he had uploaded all his post-breakup pictures on objectionable websites. His girlfriend first clicked the links. Then his "This is the year of the boy" uploaded the video with the girl and then went to her showroom with her ex-boyfriend and beat her in front of her customers while she was almost there with a new type of car. There was success in China. Happy family drive this car. He repeated this sentence about 6 times in front of Joe, who was there for the test drive. Due to stalking, the relationship between him and his girlfriend was strong. His boyfriend was not too shocked when he was beaten. During his 4-year career, he visited his girlfriend almost every day in the city. There was a fire at Shahur Public Police and it was still his own room. As much as he was shocked to hear his girlfriend's accusation, despite believing his screams, his girlfriend knew he had done the act while under the influence of alcohol. Who can get up with the dress? A week after the breakup, he met her in a nightclub. For a few days, their meetings continued in the same aimless manner. She was a technician and introduced herself as a painter. He is a girl. Every time after a few days of meeting, he invited him to his house. And after that, he started visiting more and more. He became a regular to the people of this building. Wants to impress the vizier, and in this period of 2 months, he had made another key to this apartment. And a week ago, in the absence of this girl, he stole a sniper rifle and some other things from her apartment. They knew it about a week before this event. All the buildings in the area will be security checked. Then they can't move into the building without bag screening. Ding was extremely tight security. He was a regular. If not for the vizier, he could not have entered the building at that time. His girlfriend, 50 miles away from the building, had an emergency at the hospital. She was at the apartment at the time. Her car in the parking lot had flat tires on all 4 tires. And if it is from these 2 things anyway, after a week or so before the event, all the buildings in the area will be checked by security. He won't be able to move into the building without bag screening. And so on. At the same time, all buildings in this area are unlimited. There was tight security. If he was not a regular visitor, he could not have entered the building at that time. His girlfriend, 50 miles away from the building, had an emergency at the hospital. She was at the apartment at the time. Her car in the parking lot had flat tires on all 4 tires. And if it is from these 2 things after somehow escaping, still on the way home, Arrangements were made to check on him. It was 9:00 and 13 minutes. He was ready to receive the guests with his rifle in front of the doll. The doll in the banquet hall of the hotel was made of bulletproof glass. Hey, bulletproof glass. Because of this, there was no security personnel posted in front of this window. So much for killing someone. General facilities were not available. The guest was brought walking in the corridor. He walked out of the elevator and walked in the corridor to the inner door of the banquet hall to entertain the guest. It took about 2 minutes. Once he was in the banquet hall, I walked towards my table to get out of his sight. But 2 minutes was equal to 2 hours for a professional. All the doors of the banquet hall were bulletproof, except for the one in front of him. 3 weeks ago, the glass of this window was broken in an apparently accidental accident. It took a week to replace it, and the replacement glass was defective. People knew who had planned it. It was ready, and the artist was about to come, for whom the game was being played. And quote, I have no interest in a show of hands. And quote, he denied it outright, and quote, he said, and quote, but I am, and quote, she was insisting, and quote, it's all a matter of course, and quote, he told her, childishly, and quote, there is nothing wrong with the shop, and quote, there was no change in his style, and quote, what do you want in your future bar? Ask me, and quote, he was not in a mood to take her to Palmist, which was in the lobby of 5-star, where he came to eat a little earlier and did not know his wife after eating. He remembers the Palmist, and quote, very funny, and quote, he joked, and quote, you don't know your future, how about mine? And quote, why is your and my future not together? And quote, he smiled at her juttiata. And quote, that's why they say, they go to Palmist and ask him, and quote, he insisted. And quote, look, our and quote, today and quote, is correct. This is enough. And quote, what is your problem tomorrow? And quote, he was not willing either. And quote, I am the problem of tomorrow. And quote, it was Jala's bid, perhaps not expecting that he would express such a reaction to her request. And quote, how many people are showing their hands to this palmist? You know, how many correct things he told my colleagues about their future. How many cousins of my sister-in-law came to visit him. And quote, she was giving examples to convince him. And quote, sister-in-law came to him. And quote, he asked suddenly. And quote, no, and quote, he said. And quote, so, and quote, you won't be interested in me. I am you. And if you don't take me, I will go away myself. And quote, she was serious. And quote, when? And quote, now. And quote, he laughed uncontrollably. And said, and quote, hush. And quote, showing your hand to palmist is the greatest folly in the world. And I did not expect any such folly from you. And quote, but and quote, now you are resisting, it's okay, take your hand. And quote, you will not show. And quote, I go with him to the lobby. And quote, he said. And quote, no, and quote, he said in 2 words. And quote, come on, there is nothing. You are saying that my future and yours are one. So what I will tell you in my 12 months, it will also be in your 12. What? She was waiting for him. For example, he asked her with a smile. For example, if you have a happy married life, you will have it too. It's not necessary, and quote. He told her. And quote. May my life as a husband go well with you. And quote. What about me? I must be doing well. And quote. He shrugged his shoulders and showed his needlessness. And quote. How selfish are you women? And quote. He criticized his behavior as he went with him. And quote. So don't do it, then marry us. Don't do it. Love us. Who are we fighting for you as a man? And quote. And quote. He said in a joking manner. He laughed. And quote. For a few moments he was really wonderful. And quote. And quote. Yes. We are the ones who are living. You people don't live a life of dignity. Maybe that's why. And quote. After a while, he grew up. And quote. You mean you were leading a dignified life before marriage? And quote. And quote. She was very angry. And quote. We may be generalizing. And quote. And quote. He looked at her instead. And quote. No. You just talk about yourself. And quote. And quote. And quote. If you are angry, then don't go to Palmist. And quote. He deflected the subject with ease. And quote. No. When am I angry? And quote. He asked. His expression changed in a moment. And quote. Well, what will you ask from Palmist? And quote. And quote. He made things worse. And quote. There are big things. And quote. He replied seriously. He wanted to call it a street. But by then he had reached Palmist. He sat on a chair on one side, listening to his wife and Palmist's conversation without interest, but he was surprised to see his wife's interest and seriousness. And quote. Palmist now held his hand and was examining his features with the help of a lens. Then he began to speak very seriously. And quote. The knowledge of the lines is neither definitive nor reliable. We only tell what the lines are telling. However, it is only Allah who listens and tells the destiny. And quote. He stopped talking for a few moments. Then he looked at her hand in surprise and looked at her face. The sages were busy watching. And quote. It's a matter of great surprise. And quote. Palmist said, looking at the hand again. And quote. What? And quote. He asked Palmist a little impatiently. And quote. Is this your first marriage? And quote. And quote. Looking at his message on BlackBerry, he looked at Palmist in shock. And quote. Yes. And quote. And quote. His wife was a little surprised. And looked at the Palmist and then at him. And quote. Oh. What? And quote. Palmist then fell ill in a hospital. And quote. And quote. You have a second marriage line on your hand. A strong line. A happy, successful second marriage. And quote. And quote. Palmist looked at her hand as she finally said it. It had lost its color. She turned to see her husband. She was completely still in her place. Asterisk 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 is ongoing. why. And quote, after a while, he grew up. And quote, you mean you were leading a dignified life before marriage? And quote, she was very angry. And quote, we may be generalizing. And quote, he looked at her instead. And quote, no, you just talk about yourself. And quote, if you are angry, then don't go to Palmist. And quote, he deflected the subject with ease. And quote, no, when am I angry? And quote, he asked. His expression changed in a moment. And quote, well, what will you ask from Palmist? And quote, he made things worse. And quote, there are big things. And quote, he replied seriously. He wanted to call it a street. But by then he had reached Palmist. He sat on a chair on one side, listening to his wife and Palmist's conversation without interest, but he was surprised to see his wife's interest and seriousness. And quote, Palmist now held his hand and was examining his features with the help of a lens. Then he began to speak very seriously. And quote, the knowledge of the lines is neither definitive nor reliable. We only tell what the lines are telling. However, it is only Allah who listens and tells the destiny. And quote, he stopped talking for a few moments. Then he looked at her hand in surprise and looked at her face. The sages were busy watching. And quote, it's a matter of great surprise. And quote, Palmist said, looking at the hand again. And quote, what? And quote, he asked Palmist a little impatiently. And quote, is this your first marriage? And quote, looking at his message on BlackBerry, he looked at Palmist in shock. And quote, yes. And quote, his wife was a little surprised. And looked at the Palmist and then at him. And quote, oh, what? And quote, Palmist then fell ill in a hospital. And quote, you have a second marriage line on your hand. A strong line. A happy, successful second marriage. And quote, Palmist looked at her hand as she finally said it. It had lost its color. She turned to see her husband. She was completely still in her place. ****** is ongoing.